topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Arizona. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the finest experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, about a year ago, we started getting calls from our listeners asking us how come we're not doing a show on neuropathy. I got to tell you, I had never heard of neuropathy, and I started doing research, and I saw that it's such an important topic, but there's no one really talking about it. We were able to find the top expert in the field of neuropathy in Arizona with Dr. Patrick Sars. And I got to tell you, I have learned so much about neuropathy, but most of all, I just so feel sorry for those people who are going through it. That's why a show like this is so important. Let me introduce you to our expert, Dr. Patrick Sars of the Treatment Center of Arizona. Hey, good afternoon, Dr. Sars.
Good afternoon, Steve.
Gosh, you know what? It is such an important topic, and I am surprised a lot of doctors aren't really up on neuropathy. And that's why I'm so glad we have a practice like yours on the show.
Yeah, basically, a lot of misunderstanding about neuropathy, particularly in here years ago. It was often misdiagnosed. It's not as commonly misdiagnosed now just due to the fact that people are understanding that more and more people actually suffer with it. But at the same time, still, they assume that if you have neuropathy, pretty much you're diabetic, and that just really isn't the case. That 70% of people that have neuropathy really aren't diabetic.
Listen, this is not a scare tactic, but I want people to understand, because I think some people think, oh, it's going to go away, or it'll get better. What happens if a person doesn't treat neuropathy?
Basically, it continues to get worse. The primary thing that's going to happen to most people is that it's going to affect their balance, and so that it's going to limit their ability to be able to go and do things. A lot of people basically express that their quality of life has just gone down, that they lose the ability to go and function and go to family functions, go to friends' places, just due to the fact that the discomfort and the pain that they experience, the balance issues, they're afraid that get into a unique place or a strange place that they're not familiar with. If the ground's unlevel, there's a good possibility they could fall, and work from that aspect. That it can be extremely devastating. That my mom, who suffered with it, she spent the last 16 years of her life fully confined to a wheelchair, that she had no idea where the heck her feet were actually at if she wasn't just looking at them.
This is kind of like why you got into neuropathy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That when I got out of school, I started trying to find something to help my mom, and unfortunately, I never did. Both my parents passed away in 1999, but found some things in 2006 that showed some promise. We started treating patients in the office in 2008, and there's been a lot of advances in the treatment and in my knowledge. And so, in the last 5 years, 98% of the patients that I've accepted for care have reported at least a 65 to 100% reduction in their symptoms. And I'm so confident basically that in what I do now that I can actually offer a money back guarantee, because what I do is unfortunately not covered by insurance.
Yes.
But it does, and so to what I charge, it's worth it if it works. So to basically get people to give it a try, I do offer a money back guarantee that if they're not better in 6 months, I will refund their money. And the only person that can tell whether or not they're better is the person that's suffering with it. The thing that I have found is that when they start to get better, they don't want me to give them back their money. They just want to keep getting better. And that is what happens.
Exactly. You know, I got to tell you, and I've shared this with you before, every time I hear a story about somebody fell in the shower, I always think about, because it does affect your balance. Do you think that some of these people that fall in the shower, it could be from they have neuropathy and don't know it?
I'd say that's probably a pretty good guess. The chances are, because it does affect your balance, you become dependent on your depth of perception. And I know you don't have this problem. When the normal person washes their hair in the shower, they close their eyes. And so,
Yes.
Sorry, couldn't resist. And if they're not holding on that basically to something, as soon as they lose that ability to see the shower wall in that, they lose their balance, and that is what causes them to fall.
And with neuropathy, also there is numbness. Where would a person, would it be in their feet or their hands?
Can be in both. Generally, it'll start in their feet. As it progresses, it can get into their hands, and it's a little bit slower progression to go into the hands, just due to the fact that we have a lot more nerve endings in the fingers and the hands than we do in the feet. Kind of the best way that I can explain this is when everything is normal. If you put a penny and a dime in your pocket, you reach in with your hand, you could determine which one was the penny and which one was the dime. There is never a time in your life for the average person that if they put a penny and a dime down on the floor and told you, okay, use your bare foot and tell me which one's which, you can't determine. It's due to the fact the nerve density in the hand is so much more. And neuropathy basically becomes symptomatic when you start to have more abnormal than normal nerve endings. And so when we have so many more nerve endings in the hand, we can start to lose some. And so maybe our dexterity is a little bit off or something this way, but we really won't have too much discomfort or pain with it until we start to reach a point where we end up with more nerves being abnormal than normal. It's a slow progression into the hands, but it can be a lot more devastating when it does happen, because you'll start to drop things. You'll have difficulty buttoning a shirt. A lot of things that you commonly think that I had one of my patients early on, back when I first started, that he had been diagnosed with one of the most severe cases of neuropathy that the University of Iowa Medical Center had ever seen. And he told me this story about how he basically, whenever he got a drink, he wanted something in a cup so that he had a handle. And he was at a party and somebody handed him an open bottle of or a can of Coke. And he didn't want to drop it. He was a pretty big, strong farm guy. And when he squeezed it good. And he just drenched the guy because it all came out the top of the can.
Unreal. You know, once in a while you hear about an older person, and is the demographics a little bit older with neuropathy, first of all, Dr. Sargent?
It has been. When I first started, my average patient was probably 70 years old, and I didn't really see any patients younger than that. But I'm starting to see patients in my office now that are in their late 30s and 40s. So these are not necessarily people that are diabetic, but it's coming from some other things that there seems to be a longer range of things that can cause it. That when I first started doing this 17, 18 years ago, if you looked up online, that they would commonly say there was around 100 things that could cause neuropathy. The Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, where we're at, says that there could be up to 200 now. So apparently, there's more and more things that are actually causing neuropathy, and it's affecting people at an earlier age.
Well, the reason I brought that up is sometimes you hear about an older person driving into a building. They actually stepped on the gas rather than the brake. Do you see? I mean, because if you're getting this numbness in your feet, I mean, do you see that maybe that could be caused from someone who's got neuropathy?
Definitely. That my just using my mother as an example, that before she went in the wheelchair, there was a day that she decided that she was going to go uptown. She went into the garage, started the car, and the engine raced, and she would have sworn that her foot was on the brake. Um, and so it was a realization that she had no idea where her feet were at, and she shut off the car, went back into the house, and told my dad that he had to drive her from now on. That so yeah, that you lose proprioception, and so as more severe, it starts to work up into the lower aspect of the calf up to the knee. You're going to lose awareness of where your feet are actually at, and and so yeah, these are exactly what happens. I mean, that is often the case, that's the first quote of that person is that I swear my foot was on the brake, but they have no idea where their feet are actually at.
Wow. I know there's people who are listening right now are going, I wonder if I might have neuropathy. What are signs again of they could have neuropathy?
Here's kind of an easy test. There's a test that's called the Toronto Clinical Scoring System for Peripheral Neuropathy. It was put together by a couple of neurologists about 22 years ago, one from the University of Toronto, one from the Harvard. Basically, what it is that you use a spot on your face for a sensation and test how you feel that sensation down in your foot. When everything is normal, you've got the same nerve endings up in your cheek that you do in your big toe. You should feel everything the same way. And so on my website, I have a little simple test. Basically, people take a butter knife from a flatware set, use the handle that's metal, and it'll basically be room temperature, but that'll feel cool to the touch. And touch that to your forehead, and then see how it feels on the top of your foot and the top of your toe, and see if you feel it the same way. Also, taking a hair dryer on a warm setting, low fan, doing the same thing, blowing the warm air against your forehead, and then seeing how it feels in relation down in the lower foot and in the top of the toes, and see if you feel it the same way. These sensory nerves will start to be lost with neuropathy, and you'll lose those sensations. And those are two of the ones that most people will start to lose first. And so that'll give you kind of a good indication if you're starting to develop neuropathy. The earlier that we can get to treating somebody, the easier it is. And in turn, the less expensive it is, that we don't have to get quite as involved, because there's a number of different factors that we have to take into consideration depending on the severity of the neuropathy when someone starts our treatment.
We just got two texts in. The first one wants to know about diet. Does diet have anything to do with neuropathy? And if you do have neuropathy, do you have your patients change their diet?
I give recommendations that I've found people have a hard time changing their diet, but in all actuality, there are certain things that you need to stay away from. The thing that anybody with neuropathy is going to discover is that some people are going to have an intolerance to gluten, and that actually can irritate some people's neuropathy if they do start eating gluten. Pretty much everybody with neuropathy will find that if they eat a high carbohydrate meal, some pasta, things this way, no matter what the cause of the neuropathy is, it's going to aggravate it and cause it to increase for a period of time. That when we eat high carbohydrates or sweets in this, our blood sugar rises. When our blood sugar rises, our oxygen levels on the red blood cells actually drop for a period of time while we're absorbing that sugar out of our bloodstream, whether or not you're diabetic or not. And it's during that time that loss of oxygen will actually irritate the nerves and make them feel worse. So a lot of times people that the day after they've gone out for having a large pasta dinner or something this way might actually feel worse the next day.
The other question is about sleep. Does if it affects your nerves in your feet, does it cause you to have sleep problems?
It can, because of the fact that it can cause pain, numbness, and that those sensations can keep you awake or wake you up during the night. And it's not unusual that people will actually notice their symptoms more at night than they do during the day. That particularly in the very beginning stages of it, due to the fact that when you're still have some normal nerve endings. So when we're up on our feet and we're doing things, we've got shoes and socks on, we're stimulating those normal nerves, and that'll kind of override those abnormal sensations. And then at night, you take your shoes and socks off, you get ready for bed. There's nothing really stimulating the normal nerves. And so the abnormal ones become a little more prevalent at that time. And the numbness and or pain can actually increase. And that, can be disruptive to their sleep. It is not unusual that people with neuropathy will have difficulty going to sleep or staying asleep. And particularly people a little bit more severe as it goes on, that and as we get older, needing to wake up and go to the restroom in the middle of the night, have difficulty getting back to sleep because of the fact that the neuropathy is bothering them at that time.
I'm hearing that if a doctor thinks you have neuropathy, they all basically prescribe the same medication. But I've learned from your show and other shows that we do that really doesn't help the problem.
Yeah, the primary one that they prescribe is gabapentin, sometimes Cymbalta,
yes.
Sometimes Lyrica, but gabapentin is the primary one. And basically, it may help some people with pain. Studies show basically that about 22% of people that have neuropathy will benefit from taking gabapentin and decreasing some of the symptoms. But for the other 78%, it really doesn't. 49% of people that have neuropathy will be on a medication. That difference between the 22% that it's helping and the 49% that's on it, it's that 27% goes, geez, if my neuropathy is this bad with me being on the medication, what would it be like if I went off of it? And so they're afraid to go off. But for the vast majority of them, there'd be no difference whatsoever because it's really not doing anything.
We're getting a lot of questions in, people wanting to know, how do you, once you discover your patient has neuropathy, how do you treat them?
Basically, I use a form of infrared light. NASA basically in the 1980s, they was using infrared as a light source on how to grow plants and vegetables in space. And the people that were tending those plants were getting nicks and cuts, and they healed up really fast. And it intrigued them. And so they actually did studies using sailors and showed they could actually speed up the time of healing of an open wound by about 25% when they exposed them to an infrared light. They did the same on sailors that were stationed on submarines where they weren't exposed to any natural light, and showed they could increase the speed of healing of that open wound by about 50%. Since then, that basically what we found is that infrared will actually cause angiogenesis, will actually increase the number of blood vessels in an area. And it will also stimulate the mitochondria, which is the energy portion of every cell that we have in our body. It's the motor. It's what makes everything work. And it can actually, if you stimulate the mitochondria, you can actually cause replication. That this study that I'm about to tell you is by far not scientific. It was just we were trying to figure out what the heck we were actually doing. But the most definitive way to test for neuropathy is actually doing a skin biopsy, where you take a plug of skin from 2 or 3 areas in the lower leg and the feet, send it into a lab that actually stains and counts the number of nerve endings in these microscopic sections of skin. Normal individual in these sections will have 13 or 14 nerve endings. Somebody with symptomatic neuropathy, that number is generally around 7 or less. And we did some pre and post on patients we were successful with back in 2010 and showed we could actually increase the nerve density by over 400%. So we can reverse the neuropathy to some degree. The problem is it doesn't cure it, because neuropathy is caused by something else. And so this is the real problem that we have, is that any treatment that you do, it has to be ongoing, because a short-term treatment may give you some relief for a short period of time, but we haven't dealt with the cause. And in 30 to 40% of people that have neuropathy, they have idiopathic neuropathy where we don't know what the cause is. So the only way to control the neuropathy is continue to doing the treatment. During the healing stage, you do it more often, but maintenance stage, it still needs to be done. Our treatment protocols, and this is the reason that we've switched to a home treatment protocol, is I found out after treating neuropathy for almost 7 years that pretty much everybody I treated in my office, their neuropathy returned, and I was the only one that benefited from what I was doing, and that was not what I was trying to do. So we've gone to a home treatment protocol and had really good success. The last 5 years, 98% of the patients are responding to what we do. And as long as they will continue to do it and nothing else changes as far as their health goes, we can basically maintain those results for the rest of their life.
Yeah, because we're getting a lot of questions about maintaining. So they do have to maintain in order to keep it from coming back.
Right. And what they also have to understand is, I say infrared, but and a lot of people go, well, geez, yeah, I tried that, but it didn't work. But the infrared units that an average individual can buy on the internet is very rarely going to do anything for anything that way, unfortunately. That they just don't have enough power. That when I do talks on a pretty regular basis, and it's basically having the right tool for the right job. And I use the analogy that if I was putting a pool in my backyard and I hired somebody to dig out this pool, if the guy that showed up to dig it out showed up with a pickup truck, a pickaxe, and a spade, be quite a while before I'd actually get a pool in my backyard. That the guy I want to have shows up with a backhoe and a dump truck. And that's basically the difference between the types of infrared units that are out there, that most of them do not generate enough power to actually do anything in a short enough period of time where you actually realize it before you get discouraged.
What are the demographics? We were talking about age. What about gender? What are you seeing there?
Just really not too much of a difference. That men and women is pretty much equal as far as who's going to develop it from that aspect. In years past, just due to the fact of circumstances, I mean, when I first started this 17 and a half years ago, I saw a lot of Korean War vets that had suffered frostbite during the Korean War that developed neuropathy. So I was seeing more men at that time. And then we kind of moved into the Vietnam stage, and people that were around Agent Orange had a lot more problems in that. But now, as we've kind of moved out of that and we're into the age that it's pretty much balanced out, that really can't really see a difference much between women and men that actually have it from that aspect, that pretty much everyone's been exposed to the same things that may be ending up causing it.
Dr. Sarge, I got to do this. I don't know if people, when you see me turning my head, we get so many texts during the show. I got to read this one. I guess it's one of your fans just said, I am watching you now on the screen. You don't look old enough to have treated people during those wars.
Well, I wasn't. I was alive during those wars, but
it's got to be
but
it's got to be
the patients were older than me. But thank you, I appreciate that. But I am actually in my 70s. So
no, are you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you look great. You know, we just had someone ask us. They saw DC, going across the screen. Do you treat any other areas besides neuropathy?
Well, I'm a chiropractor, so yeah, I haven't shut my chiropractic practice down. I'm still that, and I didn't get into treating neuropathy because I was not a good chiropractor. I still am treating some of the same patients that I started with 39 years ago, and their family and their
Wow.
grandkids. So I just don't actively pursue that aspect of it. That the neuropathy is a lot more devastating. There's a lot of really good chiropractors, and I'm not trying to. I'm a good chiropractor. I truly am. But my goal basically is to help people with neuropathy. That there's a lot of clinics that are in existence to treat neuropathy. They're more concerned on whether or not you sign up for the program than whether or not you get better. And my concern is to make sure that you get better.
Well, you're wonderful. We're so lucky to have you. You're so knowledgeable. Tell people how the people who are listening on radio now, how can they reach you?
You can basically, my website is isneuropathycurable.com. My phone number's there, which is 480-556-1358. Our phone is answered from 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. Outside of office hours, when you call, I'll be the one that answers the phone. Do not be alarmed. The reason being is my patients are treating themselves at home. And if they have any questions or concerns about their treatment, I want to be able to answer them immediately, not to have them stop the treatment until their next office visit. The only way this actually works is if they do the treatments. And so that I'm located in Mesa, Arizona, but anywhere you are in the state that I can deal with it, that I have patients. I have actually never met face-to-face. Everything's been done over the phone and over the internet throughout the country. Actually, I have had patients in other parts of the world, in other countries. And so we can make this work pretty much anywhere you are in the world from that aspect. But it does take your commitment to actually do it. If you do, like I said, that the patients that I do accept for care, and there are a curriculum that we do need to make sure that you match so that it does work for you. But my success rate is 98%. And for those people that I accept and think that I can help, and I don't, I do actually have a separate contract that we sign that is a money-back guarantee.
Dr. SARS, we're so lucky to have you. Dr. SARS is with us every month. He'll be back in with us next month. Happy New Year, Dr. SARS, and I will see you next month.
All right, Steve. Happy New Year. Take care. Be safe.
Thank you. That's Dr. Patrick SARS. That's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.